Hi, I'm Noel Rappin. When I was rehearsing this afternoon, they strongly suggested that I point out that I am actually a published author because it's somewhat relevant to this talk. Since I'm already doing that, I thought I would also point out that my book is actually on sale as part of the Pragmatic Programmer's week-long 40% off sale on a bunch of Rails books, including Rails Trust Prescriptions, which is mine. I wasn't going to do the cheesy marketing thing, but I did, so we're all going to deal. Actually, though, what I'm... wrong way. Hey. Do I really? Okay, Rails Test Prescriptions is this great book that... totally didn't plan that. Okay, so what I'm here to do is to say, if they asked you, anybody in this room could write a book, and by book, I mean potentially a blog post, something short, something that you can express yourself and explain items to the community. Every one of us. And the reason I say that is because every person in this room knows something that somebody else in this room doesn't know. Everybody in this room spent 5 hours doing something last week and could save somebody else in this room that 5 hours if they took the time to write it down in a blog post and share it with the community. Technical writing is very easy to break into compared to other kinds of writing. Publishers are always looking for people who are explaining the newest tools. You have an audience that is dedicated to find and technically savvy enough to seek you out and find information. You can start small. You can write a blog post. You can write a series of blog posts. You can build an audience. You can become known for explaining things well. There are several people in this room that have already done that, and you could be one of them. You should not wait. You do not have to be the world's greatest living expert on something to write about it. You can take the expertise you have. You know something that somebody else doesn't know. You start with something that you've done. Start with something that you want to build. Because in the process of researching the tool, in the process of becoming competent enough in something to explain it to somebody else, you will become an expert on the topic. So it's important for you to choose a topic that you're interested in. I think the word passion gets a little overused in these kind of discussions, but I do think you want to choose something that you find engaging and you find rewarding, and that seeing more people use a tool effectively will be important to you. If you're not an expert, there's a perception that the scariest thing about starting to explain something is facts. Facts are actually the easy part in technical writing. Facts are available. You can hack things. You can look at source code. You can play with this stuff enough to learn facts. It's not like history in that sense. What's tricky is emphasis. What's tricky is finding out what is exciting about this tool. What do the people that use it for? What is important? What is the terrain? What are the things that should be explained and the things that I don't need to explain? That's hard to fix if you don't get it right. So, one thing that you should do is find somebody who's an expert in whatever you want to write about. They don't need to be somebody you know personally. They can be somebody you've read online, but you want it to be somebody who can act as a native guide to show you what's important. If you're already an expert, you need to find a novice, because you've probably already lost the process of learning something and you've forgotten what the pitfalls are. So you need to run your explanations past somebody who doesn't know them so you can see what parts are confusing and what parts aren't. In any case, what you want to do is think about your audience. Do they need to have Rails explained to them, or do they already know it? Do they know RSpec? What kinds of knowledge are you assuming that people are going to come into your writing with? And then once you've done that, the important thing is to write regularly. Regularly doesn't necessarily mean every day, but it does mean that when you sit down to write, it should be recent enough that you remember where you left off. If you don't remember where you left off, you're not writing regularly. The easiest thing in the world to do is not write. A writing project will only get done if you sit down and actually do it. The only way out of a project like this is through. But one advantage here, even if you're working on a long project, you can start with shorter pieces. You can start with a piece that interests you. You can start with something that might be a blog post that might turn into a longer project. You can break your larger project up into smaller projects. It's very liberating on a larger project that you don't have to write it in order. The part that's most interesting to you, the part that's most interesting to other people, the part that you know the best. Start there and use that to leverage the rest of it. Because everybody else in the world is going to get a blog post or a book out of this, but what you're going to have is the process. So it's very important that you enjoy the process, that it is engaging to you, that it is rewarding, that it is fun, because that is what you come out of this with 99% of the time. Somebody online will not like this. Somebody will say so online. They will use 4-letter words. You need to be okay with that. You need to understand that the process is its own reward. Well, the other reward is somebody will like it, and you'll wake up one day and you'll see a message on Twitter from Thailand or something, or somebody who randomly read what you wrote and just says that it's helpful, and isn't even directing that back at you, but is just directing it back at the community at large. And that's another kind of reward here too. So, I'm Noel Rappin. I hope that this has inspired you a little bit to get out and express yourself and explain things to the community. And that's it. That's all I got. Thank you.